here today with Kathryn.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about racism while we eat ramen. We met at St. Andrews in Scotland, where we went to university together. We wanted to share our experiences of being minorities in majority white places. We both grew up in a very white neighborhood.
Yeah. My parents are white. It's kind of a unique perspective.
Oh, an interesting story. So when I first kind of discovered that my skin color was like an issue almost, I think I was in second grade, and I was on the bus talking to some girl. We were like, what would we do if we were president? I would probably give out ice cream to everyone. I don't know. I would
Some good stuff.
Yeah, some really hardcore things. Like I would stop homework.
Yeah. Oh, no homework.
No homework, recess all the time. Kid stuff. And she was like, oh, I don't know, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm not really sure. And I was like, okay, well, let me know tomorrow. She came back the next day, and I was like, oh, so did you figure out, what you would do if you're president? She was like, I would move all of people who are not white to an island, get them away from here, or kill them.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? I was in second grade, so yeah, I was like, 6 or 7, and I was so taken aback. And it ended up being a big thing where parents were involved and the school was involved, and I was just so shocked. And I was like, does everyone think this? Am I gonna always feel like this in life?
I think the story that I always like to tell is that one day after preschool, there's this woman that came up to my mom, and she was like, oh, does Kathryn know that she's adopted? Does she know? Have you told her yet? And I was like, that's so stupid. Obviously she knows. She looks in the mirror, she sees us, she knows. I think I always was very aware, because my parents were white, that I was not white, right? Yeah. But as I grew up, it was a celebrated thing. It was a special thing and a good thing.
Yeah.
I think being out in the world beyond my own family, that I realized that it could be a negative thing. The thing that I want to share is the time that I went to Inverness, which you already know.
Yes.
We were walking around Inverness during the day, out in the open, and these drunk 14-year-olds, maybe 14, 15, started just shouting at me specifically, being like, go home, other weird derogatory terms and stuff. And I was with a bunch of other people, and they were all white, so they were all so shocked and stuff. And that's definitely the most out in the open thing that's ever happened to me, but it's not uncommon.
Exactly.
So I remember just telling them it's fine, just ignore them. But it was still they were just shouting at me, these drunk 14-year-olds. And I think there were a lot of adults around too that kind of heard it.
Yeah.
And just kind of laughed, and they were like, oh, that's ha ha ha, classic drunk 14-year-olds doing their thing. So yeah, that's that's the story that came to mind. I'm not sure if it's the worst thing that's ever happened, but it's definitely a funny story.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have a bunch of weird stories, but I'll tell a recent one. Yeah. Recently, I was in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I was just out with my friends, just trying to have a good time. We were in a club. I was at the bar, and a couple of guys approached me and were asking me if I knew Osama bin Laden. And they were kind of chanting it at me and yelling, and I had stuff to drink, so I ended up being a little bit aggressive towards them. I normally wouldn't have. They just kept yelling it, and the more aggressive I was, the more they were laughing and kind of provoking me, and so I had to leave the club and kind of calm down a little bit.
Especially when you're getting angry and someone else is making fun of you, that just makes you so powerless.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? If you're not having an effect.
And these are grown-ass men, and it's not
even drunk 14-year-olds.
No, and I went outside to calm down, and I was extremely upset, visibly upset, makeup streaming down my face. It was not a pretty sight. And these men came back out of the club. They continued to chant at me and ask if I knew Osama, and started just chanting Osama.
It's so many levels of ignorance.
So many levels of ignorance.
What you are.
And people would be you're the wrong kind of brown. How would they say that to you? What? Doesn't matter, people are ignorant, you know what I mean? Obviously this hate should not be directed at anyone. And I don't know if they were Danish. I don't know if they were also foreign. So I would never presume to say that all Danish people are racist, because that would be unfair. This is not the first time I was asked if I knew Osama bin Laden. The last time it happened, I think I was 12 or 13, and it was by another dumb 12 or 13-year-old boy. And then collectively, one of my favorite stories is one of our friends at uni. And it was just me, Kathryn, and this other person. And I had said, oh, of course I love Kathryn. I would give her one of my kidneys. And this person started laughing and said,
you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not going to work, though.
And we started nervous laughing because we thought he was kidding. And we were like, what? He was like, well, yeah, of course. Like, my kidney wouldn't fit into Kathryn's. And
we're just like, it's not puzzle pieces.
What? Yeah. And he was like, oh, because you're Indian and she's Chinese.
Like, so you can't exchange the kidneys.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, do you think we're different on the inside? That's crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a shocking moment. Also me being a little bit naive. I think both of us thinking that our friends were, obviously because if you're educated, then you have to not be ignorant, but that's obviously not the case. And even
it's like an interesting level of it too. Just like the fact that did no one ever say like people are all
exactly
the same?
We have the same organs.
Same organs.
Yeah.
Do people think that like race penetrated so deep into like organs that like maybe it's like did you think it was like a blood compatibility thing or like I remember some of my friends telling me like in like a not embarrassing way that like I was the first like Asian friend they had ever had. That they had like met lots of Asian people. And they knew a lot from school and like just from being alive, but like not that like they were friends with. So that to me, it wasn't like shocking, but that's like a good example of like they're there in daily life, but people aren't like necessarily reaching out to like become friends with them. Exactly. And I guess if like the student is from China, then there's that general assumption that like, oh, maybe we like don't have stuff in common.
Yeah,
like,
people assume a huge cultural difference. And this has been said to me several times, actually, because I've mentioned it saying, oh, why would you say, oh, there's a large group of this certain type of group of people, I wouldn't like it or I wouldn't get along with them. And I said, why? In this specific instance, it was Asians. And the person responded, oh, I think there's
it's like a huge
cultural gap that person would not be able to handle well.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Like, I remember I was talking to my mom about this the other day, that just, like, cultural differences are so overplayed.
Yes,
like, theoretically, I think you could theoretically be friends with everyone. Like, you might reach some, like, awkward things where, like, table manners would be different. Or, like,
I think
something like that
a language barrier is a huge, like, an actual barrier. That's an actual barrier. But I don't really believe in cultural differences that would prevent you so much
just
from
like,
being able to
interact
with a...
And work it out, right? There's nothing you can't be like, oh, like, was that rude? Like, I'm sorry, that was, like, rude to you, I didn't know. Like, there's nothing that can't be worked out when you just talk to someone.
Yeah, of course. Just talk it out. Why can't everyone just love everyone?
Oh, yeah.
And I think people in the UK, they're like, oh, we don't have a problem with it. It's not an issue. Yeah. We don't have to talk about it. And it's almost like I'm the one getting sensitive.
Because the whole sensitivity thing is like a big issue,
especially in St. Andrews. If something was said to us as a joke or offhandedly, I think both me and Kathryn would say something about it. So like, hey, that wasn't right, or like, why are you saying this?
Right.
And it was almost like, oh, you're getting so defensive. Oh, you're so sensitive. You get offended easily. Like, relative to a lot of people, both me and Kathryn have not had to deal with
we should make that clear.
Yeah, that we're not trying
to claim that we're like experiencing the worst things.
We're not out there like the struggle every day. You know what I mean? Like, it occasionally happens to us, and when it does, we do feel it.
But I think we still have a responsibility to talk about it.
Exactly. Obviously, we can't talk about everything that has happened to us.
And our experience is only our experience.
Yeah, exactly.
To other people's
exactly.
Yeah. England, like London, England, where like people of different races and religions and backgrounds and sexualities, all that are everywhere. So for me, there's less of an excuse to be so ignorant when you're surrounded by that every day. Or you have to more actively push it out. You have to more actively be like, okay, like, this is my life. I'm only going to focus on this thing. And
it might be a sweeping statement, but the States has definitely, in their mind, thought that they progressed to a state that they definitely haven't.
Thought we got
We're
better.
Definitely not as far as we should be. And I think the UK again, I'm not British, but being here for almost 5 years now, I would say that they think that there's not a problem.
They would have the same problem. But it's interesting that the two countries deal with it in very different ways. In the UK, the game telephone, a very common game, is known as
Chinese whispers here.
It's just so, like, you almost like have to
Why?
just be like laughing at it.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. Chinese whisper. Or the Mexican wave.
The Mexican wave. Do Mexicans love to wave like that? We
guess.
don't know. We have no idea. But in the States, it's just
And
called
people are
a
so
wave.
secretive.
Yeah,
Chinese
so
people
sneaky.
so secretive.
I would never say, like, oh, everyone in the UK is racist, everyone in America is
It's not
racist.
true.
No.
Mm-hmm. Because we're not judging a large body of people
We're not
based on a
judging-
small faction.
Exactly. We would never do that. That's wrong. What to do?
Did we
Obviously,
solve the problem?
Yeah.
Is it over?
Yeah, obviously this video is just here to
Explore the topic.
yeah, explore the topic and kind of discover how we feel about our own experiences.
Mhm.
I hope you liked this video. We didn't really eat a lot of our food, did we?
No.
Please subscribe to me and like it and share it. Message any one of us if you're living either in America or the UK and you have similar experiences and you want to talk about them. Everyone should just love each other and kind of just work on prejudices that you might have. I don't know what else.
Yeah,
Kind
I
of
think that's all we
advice.
can ask is people to
Yeah.
like acknowledge.
Yeah, we're
just
not
work
asking,
through
like-
it, right? Like
yeah.
you can't like wake up the next day and be like, oh, all my
Exactly.
inset prejudices are gone.
Mhm.
But yeah, the step one is to realize that it's there.
But we're just saying be friends with everyone.
We're just saying try.
Just
We're
try.
just try.
Yeah.
Try